Hello everybody! It has been a while since we've done a channel vlog updating you guys with everything what's going on the channel and in my life and all that, and I think now is the perfect time to do it because we're at the end of the year. Christmas is rapidly approaching from when I am recording this, so I wanted to talk about some really big things that have happened in my life that do affect the channel, and also some things that are coming up on the channel that I think are really exciting, plus, you know, the ongoing content creation and all of that cool stuff. And I'm going to talk about my PC upgrade that recently happened and why that happened and just kind of like the process for everything. So if you like looking behind the curtain and seeing how the cake is made sometimes, well, now is the perfect chance to kind of get an idea of all of the stuff. Let's start with the PC upgrade because I think it is the most relevant to most people. I upgraded my computer for one simple task, which is to be able to play Cyberpunk when it comes out next year on the highest settings at 60 frames per second. That has now been achieved. The computer should be able to do that with very little issues, especially once the game itself gets some optimization, which, you know, is to be expected when any new game comes out. But Cyberpunk is like the big game next year for us because we on the channel really like big RPGs. If you haven't noticed, like I've done all of the Dragon Age games, Mass Effect, let's see here. The Witcher 3 is another big one. Like, I do a lot of really big, long RPGs, and I really enjoy it. Like, you know, Divinity Original Sin 2. It's a slow game. I understand it's a slow game. I also understand it can be kind of hard to watch a really slow series, but the people who tend to stick around and watch most of our content are the people who like that kind of slow content. So I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk, especially because it's going to be so freaking good. So what did I do with my computer to upgrade it? Well, the first thing is my old computer had an i5. So if you know anything about tech, you'll kind of get the idea here, but I'll try to give you a good idea of what it was, which is it had an i5 3570K, which was like super overclocked because of the cooler that I had on it. It allowed me to overclock it and have very little stability issues, which was kind of surprising. I had 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is way more than I needed for anything that I'm doing. But I just happened to have 32 gigabytes that I had installed on it. I had a GTX 980 Ti graphics card, which was super powerful and still is a super powerful card. But since then, we've gotten 2 new generations of cards. So, you know, it fell behind a little bit in some regards. But the main thing that really killed me was 2 things. You had most of my games my computer itself not running on an SSD, and just my games recently have been running on an SSD that I picked up. And the second thing is that my processor was really bad for what I wanted to do. Intel makes some really good processors, and as it currently stands, Intel processors are still the best for gaming by a slight margin. I was looking into getting one of the new Intel processors for this upgrade, but the first thing, of course, that I needed to upgrade was my processor because it was really bad. So I did a bunch of research on what I needed. I decided to go with a Ryzen 7, I think 3800X or something like that. I don't quite see. This is the thing is I'm not so familiar with the AMD products as I was with the Intel stuff. But the reason I went with the AMD processor, which is one generation behind because they just came out with really good new ones. But the problem is those are really expensive, and I bought most of this for Black Friday stuff, so I saved a bunch of money. The reason I got the one that I did was because it is way better at productivity, which tends to be my bottleneck for time. And I'll get into time in a moment and how time is really important to me right now. So if I were going to render, let's say, a 30-minute episode of Hades or something, it would take about an hour and 20 minutes before to render that out into a video, which I then would upload, which on my old internet would take longer than it does now. Right now we have free gigabit internet through an HOA. I'll talk about that a little bit when I talk about the stuff going on in my life, but I can now upload a 30-minute video or an hour-long video in like 8 minutes. It's crazy fast. That is no concern to me. It was the processor bottlenecking all of my productivity. So upgrading that to the processor that I did meant that rendering a video has gone from about an hour and 20 minutes for a standard video that I would normally put up to about 20 minutes. That's a huge increase, and the Intel chips just don't keep up in that regard. They're still slightly better for gaming, but I need both things. I don't need just slightly better for gaming. I need a lot better for all of my productivity that I do, because again, time is very important to me. So I got that. I upgraded my main hard drive to a large SSD, and I got a GTX 2070 Super, which was a pretty big upgrade on my previous graphics card. So that allows me to get things like ray tracing available in the videos to make the videos look a lot better. And it also means that later this year, I'm going to be upgrading my monitor to be running higher resolutions. So like 1440 and 4K, depending on the game. So videos, again, will look a lot better on the channel. So this is all kind of like progressive upgrades, but the main PC upgrade is now done, and the thing is freaking amazing. Most games that I was running close to 60 frames per second before more than doubled their frame rate, like the Outer Wilds or Outer Worlds. I always make that mistake. The Outer Worlds like literally runs freaking so smooth now. I never have to worry about performance in that game. There are other games like Fallen Order, which you're seeing in the background. It's my background footage I decided to use for this for reasons, because I'm going to talk about Star Wars today as well. Yeah, that runs significantly faster. I more than doubled my frame rate on that. So like this computer is really, really good. And the reason why I like super needed an upgrade, minus allowing myself to be able to run Cyberpunk, which again is my next big game that I'm going to be doing, is that time is so freaking important to me, because in my personal life, I just got married. Yeah, that's a pretty big bombshell to just drop on everybody. For anybody who hasn't been following me directly, like on Twitter, or being one of our patrons where you've heard about this process for the last couple of years. Essentially, back in February of 2019, I got engaged to the most magnificent woman I've ever met. She's freaking amazing. She's basically my perfect equal. Like she's just as big of a nerd as I am, and she's just as goofy, and I really enjoy the heck out of her. If you watched our Borderlands series, she was in it with me. You probably know her as Ink. That's what she goes by in the games and everything. So we were going to consider to do more Borderlands stuff. I'll get to that in a bit when I talk about future content. But yeah, she's freaking amazing, and I love the heck out of her. And we just got married on December 16th. We went away for a couple days, and now I'm recording this video on like the 20th or 21st. What day is it? I think it's the 21st, before Christmas. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm about to go out of the country for 2 weeks. We're going to go to Europe, and that's really exciting for me because I've never been there. So that's going to be kind of like our big honeymoon, and I'm really looking forward to that. The reason time is so important to me is because she also has kids, and they are now my kids, and that does really time vampire everything. You would be massively surprised. You've probably noticed over the last month, a lot of my uploads have been going up super late at night, like 8 o'clock Eastern time plus, and that is not good enough. I've been wanting my videos to go up around 1 o'clock Eastern every day, and I just haven't been able to do that because I get behind on so much stuff because I am super busy now. That was the other big thing for why I needed to upgrade my computer, because I need to be able to allow myself more time, and that is a big upgrade to my time, funnily enough. So we have that as a big component to why I upgraded my computer. Being married is weird, and I'm not used to it yet, but I'm going to look forward to, you know, what the rest of my life looks like being married. And for those of you who have been following me for a long time, I just want to personally thank you guys, because you guys constantly encourage me and allow me to be super creative and do the things that I want to do. And that is partly also getting married, and you guys have supported that. And, you know, that means a lot to me. But yeah, my time has been changed and limited, and the result of that is I need to find a new process for creating videos, because I still have yet to miss a video upload since I started back in 2011. I've uploaded at least one video every single day since then, have not missed a day. Don't plan on missing any days. So, you know, you're going to get videos while I'm gone out of country and all that. But it's one of those things like I need to come up with a better process. I had a really good process down when I was single and I didn't really have to worry about much. It was nice, but now that process needs to change. So I am going to ask for your guys' patience if I get late videos up or anything like that, because honestly, it's just a matter of trying to figure something new out, and it's going to take a little bit of time in order to do that. But speaking of new stuff, yeah, I want to really grow the channel coming in 2020. I've been doing this since 2011. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, but I think it is now time to take the next step forward. So as you guys know, I have some consistent series going on right now. Like we've got Undermine, which I enjoy quite a lot. We have Hades, which is ongoing, and that game is freaking fantastic and just keeps getting better and better. I love it so much. If you haven't picked it up, you can now pick it up on Steam, and you get a free giftable copy of Pyre for a limited time if you do that. So I would suggest doing that if you haven't already picked it up on the Epic Game Store. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy those two games quite a lot. Additionally, we have our big RPG playthrough of Divinity Original Sin 2. We're doing that because when Baldur's Gate comes out, we're going to do that, which is also from Larian Studio. So I'm kind of, you know, piggybacking that game series. And then they also just announced Dark Alliance is coming from I don't remember what studio, but it's looking pretty cool for what they showed in their little teaser, and it's like, cool, maybe that's another, you know, kind of Dungeons and Dragons game that we'll pick up after Baldur's Gate. So like there's a series of videos that I'm planning on doing here that you can clearly see, and for the most part I've been pretty happy with those series, but I want to get a little different. I am a very creative person. I like being creative, and I've kind of felt like over the last 6 or 7 months, I've kind of fallen into a creative rut where I'm not actually being creative anymore. I'm just kind of doing, and that's not super fun. So coming into 2020, I am working on a production on the side for the channel. And I'm very deliberate in calling it a production because that is what it is. I'm working on a series that I want to release to you guys over the course of, I think it's 13 weeks. So you'll get one episode every week. And it's going to take a lot of work, and I'm working on it right now. I have the plans for it. I have the people for it that I'm going to be using in it. And it is really cool. But I cannot really say much about that because I want to surprise you guys with some really cool content that isn't really like anything else I do. And that is one of those creative things that I'm trying to pump out there. Additionally, back in the summer, I had started progress on doing a Kerbal Space Program series again. But then they announced Kerbal Space Program 2 right after I started work on that. And that was, it kind of discouraged me from continuing to do it because it's like, well, I may as well just wait for Kerbal Space Program 2. So that is currently on hiatus until Kerbal Space Program 2 comes out, in which case I will reintroduce the Project Destiny series because a lot of people enjoyed the heck out of that. And I want to kind of hit up on that. But overall, I think I should say that I know where a lot of my traffic is coming from. I'm very aware because I look at all my analytics, and I am aware of what kind of series I need to jump into. I'm not saying that it's going to be something that everybody wants, but it is going to be something that will hold the attention of those people coming in, and it's something I'm interested in because it is something I'm interested in real life. So it's one of those, the upcoming production, I think you guys will really enjoy. It's going to take a lot of work. And it's part of this whole trying to find this new video process for me. It will allow me to get creative content out there that I would want. And if this new little series does well, then I will do a second season of it and so on and so forth. And we'll keep doing it until, and we'll keep doing it and changing it and, you know, obviously getting feedback and adjusting it as long as people keep enjoying it. So that's kind of my plan with that. Let's talk a little bit about other series, right? So we've got Cyberpunk coming out next year. I'm super excited to dive into that. We're about to get a Dragon Age game reveal, right? We know that they're working on a new Dragon Age. They've said as much. But it looks like this next year, we're going to be looking at what the game actually is. And you bet your butt, whenever it does eventually come out, which I'm sure it's quite a ways away, we'll be jumping into that because we've done all the other Dragon Age games. There's no way we're stopping now. So I think that'll be really cool. And honestly, 2020 looks like it's going to have a handful of really good games, Cyberpunk included. And I'm looking forward to doing those. But I'm also looking forward to kind of keeping what I got going. I look at things like Undermine, for example, and Hades. Those are two ongoing series that don't really have an end to them. Eventually, I will feel like creatively I have reached the end of those series, and I'll touch back on them anytime a new update comes out. But for the most part, those series will be coming to an end eventually. I'm not going to give a time frame for that because right now Hades is literally at it's in its heyday. It's really killing it, and I love Hades a lot. Undermine is getting slower updates, and that's totally fine. But once the final zone comes out, they just released the second to last one. Once the final zone comes out, I'll probably get there, do it a few times, and then probably be done with that game for a time. So that's just one of those things. Like, I want to keep people updated that, I've been doing Hades for over a year now, but it is a series that is still getting a lot of traffic and people really enjoy it. So we'll continue to do that until I feel like I don't want to do any more videos on it. Who knows when that will be. And because I have Star Wars stuff playing in the background, I may as well actually talk a little bit about Star Wars because I think Star Wars is still a huge interest of mine. I took a little bit of a break from the franchise on a whole because of The Last Jedi. I'm critical of that movie, but I do enjoy quite a bit of that movie in a lot of ways. And it was really hard for me to engage with people who are close to me and people online about The Last Jedi because it was so divisive. And I went and saw The Rise of Skywalker, and it was great. I actually really liked it. I'm not going to give any spoilers, don't worry about that. But just my general thoughts are, I liked it. It has some problems. It has some kind of interesting plot choices that you can't question. You just got to go along with it, and then if you do, you have a lot of fun. And I thought the movie was cool, and I liked it. And I think it's cool how they ended the Skywalker saga, and it felt right. But I can see how people are upset about it here and there, and it kind of feels like, man, it's another one of those people are really divisive about this movie that actually is quite good, but people are just angry or upset about it or just unhappy with it for various reasons. And I totally understand. So, Star Wars is still something that I am super passionate about. The Mandalorian, again, is another thing that some people are being a little bit more divisive over on the later episodes here, but I have enjoyed that series thoroughly because as soon as that first episode hit and I watched it, I was like, this is amazing. It is literally a space Western. It is Star Wars Western, and I think that is so cool because we haven't really gotten that before. And I think The Mandalorian is a fantastic show. I've enjoyed every single episode. There's been ones that I enjoy better than others, but for the most part, I really like that show, and I can't see that ever changing. I think as long as they keep up the same quality of content that they're putting out there, I'm gonna keep enjoying it. So it's like, between The Mandalorian, between the new movie, I got and also between, the Jedi Fallen Order, which is a fantastic game. If you guys haven't played it, it's really, really good. I would highly suggest it. Between all that stuff, it's like, man, I have an itch for Star Wars. So I jumped back into SWTOR, and I've been playing with one of the kids, and it's interesting how you can go back to a game like that has received updates over time, but significantly less than you might expect from a game like Warcraft, for instance. If you played Warcraft 3 years ago and then you jump into Warcraft now, it's gonna be a really different game to you, especially once you hit max level, and that's even going to be more the case once Shadowlands comes out. So it's like, there's a lot going on in Warcraft. They do a lot of updates compared to some other games. So when you look at SWTOR and you go back in there and you're like, there's a lot of new stuff here, but there's not a lot of new stuff there. It kind of feels very samey. It's still a lot of fun to jump back in and level a new character and just kind of enjoy that game. And it's cool. But it's one of those things, like, I still love Star Wars, and I really wanted to do a Fallen Order series, but I would enrage people because I'm not the best at these kind of games. Dark Souls for instance, is everybody seems to love it. I really don't like Dark Souls. It's not my jam. It feels slow and clunky, and I know that's intentional, but it's just, I like more of an action game, a quicker, paced, better feeling game, and Fallen Order totally hits that for me. So I made the decision not to do a series on that and to just focus on the content I'm already doing, and then go and enjoy Fallen Order on my own. So that's what I've been doing. So like Star Wars stuff, really cool. I think just as a general thought, I thought the new movie was great. I did enjoy it. I want to go see it again with a different pair of lenses on now that I've seen it once, and be a little bit more critical of it and kind of pick that apart. But I don't anticipate doing a video on the movie until at least a month later. So that way a lot of people have a chance to go see it. So we'll see if I end up doing that. But yeah, for the most part, still really into Star Wars. I guess the next thing I should mention in a vlog around Christmas and at the end of the year is what my game of the year was. We used to do a series every single year at the end of the year where we would kind of talk about this, but that's kind of fallen on the wayside. We realized a lot of people didn't really care about our opinions on a lot of that stuff, but I think because I have been doing a lot of writing for things like Gamepedia and whatnot, I've gotten better at explaining how I feel about games and why I feel the way about them. So I'm just gonna, take another crack at my game of the year choice for this year, because I think it's unfortunately one that went overlooked. Like if you look at a lot of the Game of the Year choices from the Game Awards or any of the stuff from the Game Awards, there was a lot of really good games on there, but there were, for the most part, some that kind of got overlooked and weren't even on the list. My Game of the Year for 2019 is far and away The Division 2. I kind of mentioned it when it came out that this may very well be my Game of the Year because I'm really loving it. And, oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely The Division 2. By the time we got to the end of the year, there were some good games that came out this year, some phenomenal games. But that one stuck with me because I was a person who really enjoyed the first game, despite its issues at launch. Once some more updates for the game came out and stuff, I think The Division became a really fantastic game. And The Division 2 had learned from a lot of those mistakes they made and just made a better game. And you're damn right, that is a freaking phenomenal game. It's so good. It is so good. I really loved it. I think all the DLC that they've come out with, so their updates and stuff, has been really good. And just like, man, I really do love me some The Division. So Division 2 is definitely my game of the year. But that is because I think there could have been some better games to come out. Some games I probably would have been more excited to play, or just for the most part, some games that came out that didn't quite live up to what the expectations could have been. But for the most part, yeah, The Division 2 just kind of sat with me all year as, yeah, this is a damn good game. Right behind that, though, is definitely Jedi Fallen Order. They hit a lot of the notes that I needed them to hit in that game. It's fun. The gameplay is a lot of fun. The cool story they're telling, which is a canonical story, is cool, and they're showing a bit of that era that we've seen. Right, we now have 2 movies set in that prequels to original series era. And you got Solo, which say what you want about the movie, it's in there, and it does kind of give you some context for what's going on during that time. And then of course you have Rogue One leading up to Episode 4. So like, there is some good storytelling to be done there, and I think Fallen Order does a really good job of showing you that and giving you a really good idea of how that world is, and diving pretty deep into the more stranger parts of the Star Wars series, because there is some strange stuff in there, and like they have Jedi holocrons and stuff, and up until this point, like with the new movie, no spoilers, don't worry about it, like we don't really get a lot of that kind of stuff where you really dive into the Jedi and the Sith. And I guess playing Fallen Order and going and seeing the new movie makes me really want an Old Republic trilogy. Like put a trilogy in the Old Republic, you get me. But yeah, I think Fallen Order is right behind The Division 2 for me. Like, it's just really good. And if The Division 2 hadn't come out, Fallen Order probably would have been my game of the year. Close behind that, just for games that I have enjoyed this year and things that I want to shout out. I think Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville, as weird as that is, it's really good and they did a good job on it. But there are certain things they did with how they released the content when it first came out and how it just kind of came out of nowhere that I didn't like. But it's still a really good shooter, and I think that more people should give that game a shot. I really enjoy it. It's something that I've put quite a bit of time into over the last couple of months, just here and there. So that's another thing to consider. But yeah, overall, with that in mind, with those 3 games in mind, there really isn't any other game that came out this year that I think is super stand out to me or made me feel like I needed to mention it in a Game of the Year list. But, if I had to add another one, Undermine is a good example of that, even though it's still in early access. So, there's a bunch of other things out there that came out that I didn't play. So you can also consider that. Like Sekiro won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, but I don't like Dark Souls, and Sekiro is kind of more Dark Souls, which is ironic because I just said I really like Fallen Order, which kind of has that same thing, but it's different. There's some differences there. So yeah, I think there's games I just didn't play that probably would have won me over, but for the most part, yeah, Division 2, Game of the Year for me. And now that I've talked about all of that stuff, I do want to briefly mention how the YouTube game is definitely changing. And honestly, so is the streaming game. Like, people who've been doing Twitch for a long time are noticing the same thing, but just the winds of change are upon us, and we're noticing at a pretty huge, alarming rate that the YouTube ecosystem is rapidly changing, and the kind of content that you can put on there and the kind of content that is successful isn't going to continue to be the case within the next couple of years. Things are going to rapidly change on YouTube in a very short amount of time. And that's kind of scary, because as a person who has put their brand on YouTube and has kind of shied away from the other stuff because it's a lot of work to get the other ones running at the same time with YouTube. And, you got to focus on one of them. And the one that I've chosen to focus on is YouTube. It's kind of scary, but the thing that I need to say first and foremost is how people make a living through ad revenue on YouTube is just not really doable anymore. Yeah, I can make a bit of money here and there using it, and it does help, but it is not a sustainable source of income. So if you're the kind of person who loves watching my stuff, or just even jumps in from time to time to watch old stuff, or is only watching one series like Hades and stuff like that, please consider not necessarily supporting me through just YouTube, because that is not just watching videos anymore isn't a whole lot of support, if anything at all. It never really has been, but it's way worse nowadays, and it's not gonna be a sustainable source of support in the future. And the best way to support us currently, I think that this is also going to change over the next few years, but if you want to support the channel, please head over to patreon.com/OSWguild and consider just throwing us a couple bucks. I hate asking for stuff like this because I think it's not my style. I don't like pimping my stuff. I don't like sending people over to Patreon to give us money or anything like that. But if you like the content that you like watching on our channel and you want me to make more of it, especially once this new production that I'm working on comes out in January, at the end of January, then I really need you to consider going over to Patreon and trying to support us that way, because that will show me that you guys are liking the stuff that I want to make. And if you guys have suggestions for content that you want to make, that's a really good platform to make the suggestions on, because you're literally speaking with your wallet, and that makes a much better impression upon content creators than just random comments on YouTube, even though those comments are just as important. So it's just one of those like weird ecosystem things. Again, I don't like sending people over there, but if you want to support the channel, that's the way to do it right now. And that's the way to do it for a lot of people. I want to say, if you enjoy content creators in general on YouTube, consider headed over to their Patreon and doing it that way. Again, I don't think that that's going to be a sustainable thing over the near future, but it is currently the way things work. And I think that, honestly, if you like somebody's content, watching videos on YouTube anymore, it's not enough. It is enough to make sure that you're always, there and that you're supporting the people that you want. But if you want that person to continue making stuff, you gotta speak with your money now. And that's because what YouTube wants on their platform versus what the people who are watching it, and also versus what is getting views and stuff like that, it's all rapidly changing. And that stuff, it's unfortunate that there's a lot of gatekeepers. Let's just say that there's a lot of gatekeepers on this side of the business. And if you don't want to watch content that is boring, or you want to watch very specific content, you're now the person in charge of what content you want to watch. And there's never been a better time to start making cool content like I do. But at the same time, you gotta find your niche, and I'm trying to find a good niche with 2020, and I'm looking forward to what I have in mind, and we'll see if it ends up panning out or not. I think that the people who watch our stuff really like our stuff, but I want to expand that out to a bigger audience. But time is literally money for me now, and if I am spending time on something, it needs to be something important. Like, I don't really have time to just play games for myself much anymore, and that definitely stresses me out. But if you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/OSWguild, and that is literally right now the best way to do so. But I honestly want to hear from you guys. What's your favorite game from 2019? What are you looking forward to? This is a big one. What are you looking forward to the most from 2020? For me, it's Cyberpunk. I've been looking forward to that game since that very first trailer got announced. I am a huge Cyberpunk fan, and I think that that game is going to just absolutely knock it out of the park if it's anything to be seen from The Witcher 3. I want to know what your guys' games are that you're looking forward to the most for 2020. What game, again, was your favorite game from 2019? And what is your, if I was going to make one series on the channel, what would you want to see? Sky's the limit kind of thing, because that kind of stuff inspires me to go and create, cool stuff. And it gives me an idea of what the viewers dream about, because I want to not just make cool content. I want to make content that I dream about, that I want to, aspire to at the end of the day. But again, the year is over. I think 2019 has been an interesting year for me personally. It's been a fun year for me content-wise, and 2020 is the year that I am very much looking forward to, because I got plans to step up my game, and I think it's going to be a pivotal year for me and for the channel and just everything else going on. So thank you guys for watching. Leave me those comments that I asked for, because I'm really interested in that information. I like having a conversation about that kind of stuff. It's always fun to see what people are interested in or what people want when it comes to their games. And with all that said, we shall see you guys next time.